Breaking news here to CBS Sports HQ. Jameis Winston is out for the season with a torn ACL. Suffered the injury in the Week 8 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trevor Siemian coming on for Winston to finish out the game against the Bucs. But Jameis off to a good start in that game. Was looking like things were going to trend up for him after a good start to the season. Hopefully getting Michael Thomas back. That's still going to be the case for the Saints. But unfortunately, Jameis Winston will not be the one throwing him the football. You see his 2019 stats, obviously 2021, a different situation, different team, and now the Saints have to move on without Jameis Winston. To talk about this news, we now bring back our CBS Sports NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. So, JJ, how did the Saints replace Jameis Winston? Is it Taysom Hill? Is it Trevor Siemian? Do they make a phone call maybe to Drew Brees? Is it going to be a trade? What's the answer here at the quarterback spot in New Orleans?
I think Drew is enjoying his retired life, or his second act as a TV guy. I don't see him returning to the sidelines there for the New Orleans Saints. Crazier things have happened, but he should done. No, I think it's going to be Taysom Hill. And you look at what Trevor Siemian did. I was on the phone with a league source earlier today who was like, Trevor Siemian just went blow for blow with Tom Brady. Are you actually going to pull him? But it's going to be Taysom Hill. He's the guy who was in a legitimate quarterback competition in the preseason with Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston won it fair and square. Taysom Hill was given every opportunity to win that. He started the first preseason game. As we remember, Jameis got the start in the second one, and obviously and most certainly outplayed Taysom. When you look at their split reps, it was somewhat neck and neck there in training camp, but when you got to the game, there was no question that Jameis was the guy. And the offense changed a little bit with Jameis Winston, and a guy who was able to stretch the football down the field. He took care of the football for the first time in his career, dating back to Florida State. But now you have to look at life after Jameis Winston if you are the New Orleans Saints, and I think you have to go to Taysom Hill. This is a guy that you paid a lot of money to, and that you have had in the fold, in the system for some time. He's going to come back from the concussion protocol very likely sooner rather than later, and I think you insert him in there if you're Sean Payton and you roll with him. Now, I say all that, Jamie, to say, would you or I go with Taysom Hill? I don't want to speak for you, but I wouldn't. But we know that Sean Payton has a very strong affinity for Taysom Hill. That has been established and reestablished, and just when he thought maybe it's going to be different, it was established yet again. And so based off of history, based off of how many times I've been right here on this program saying, I don't know if they're going to go with Taysom, and then they go with Taysom because that's what Sean Payton wants to do, I'm going to listen to Sean Payton by when he speaks with his actions. And so I would anticipate when Taysom Hill is cleared from concussion protocol that he's going to be the signal caller for the Saints.
So, JJ, in terms of how you expect this offense to look, because clearly Jameis is a different quarterback, as you alluded to, and yes, I probably would not go with Taysom Hill as well. Are we going to see sort of the offense we saw last season when Taysom took over for Drew Brees? Are we going to see the hybrid of what it's kind of looked like now, and the impact on a guy like Alvin Kamara and eventually Michael Thomas? What do you think those players will look like with Taysom Hill under center?
It's interesting because last year when Taysom got into the game for, those 4 or 5 games, the Kamara usage was a lot less, at least in the passing game, because Drew Brees was relying heavily on Kamara, especially at and behind the line of scrimmage. Taysom was able to stretch the football out there to find some other targets. Drew was like, no, I'm going to give it to my guy here. So I'd be interested to see if Taysom, with a year more under his belt, is going to look at what Jameis has been doing with Kamara. Now, he was not being used as much in the screen game as he had before, Kamara, that is. And so I would have to imagine that they're going to be able to look at film and, frankly, look at the analytics and see, no, we need more Kamara, and tell Taysom that, hey, focus on him just a little bit more than you did when you were in there last year, because good things will happen. And then finally, that defense is finally playing like that defense has been wanting to for the last couple of years, as it has for the last couple of years, but they started off slowly. And so I think that defense is really going to be the epicenter of how successful this Saints team can be. Certainly that pass rush is finally getting the sack production. And so it's going to be incumbent upon Taysom, get the football in Alvin Kamara's hands, get the football on slants to Michael Thomas, keep the chains moving, control the clock. I don't know if this Saints team is going to be winning a bunch of shootouts and getting 35 points a game, but they're going to have to be strategic, because right now there's a group of 5 in the top tier in the NFC. And it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers, the LA Rams, and the Arizona Cardinals. After that, there's a second tier. And at the top of that tier is the New Orleans Saints. No question about it. And so I think as long as Taysom Hill can sort of steady the ship, get the football again in the hands of Kamara, when you get Michael Thomas back, when he returns to full health, and look around, I do think that this is a Saints team that can fairly comfortably in the NFC, I believe, make the playoffs. They are head and shoulders above, I believe, other NFC teams outside of those top 5. And then, Taysom, just do what you've always done, which is lead this team and don't turn the football over.
And the interesting part of this, JJ, there's already beaten 2 of those teams in the top 5, beating the Packers to open the season, beating the Bucs in Week 8, but unfortunately doing it without Jameis Winston to close out the game against Tampa Bay, and now without Jameis Winston for the remainder of the season. Great job, JJ, breaking down the news. Jameis Winston out for the year with a torn ACL. Taysom Hill, the most likely starter in New Orleans. All right, Heath, we got Taysom Hill as the starter. You said it before, and I think you're right. He could be a decent fantasy quarterback.
Last year in the 4 games he started, he was the number 9 quarterback in fantasy. He was on pace for about 3,500 yards passing, 800 yards rushing, and 36 total touchdowns. That would be a starting fantasy quarterback. I don't know if he'll be quite that good, but I will be very interested in adding him if he's going to start this week.
And in terms of Alvin Kamara, he is what moving forward? Top 5, top 10, outside the top 10? How do you feel about him?
I made a reference where surely he'll still be top 10, and I thought about the fact that we probably just lost Derrick Henry, and we don't know when James Robinson's going to play again. Alvin Kamara is probably going to remain a top 5 running back in all honesty. They have used him more in the running game this season than they ever have before. I would not be surprised if he loses a couple touchdowns, loses a couple targets, but he's still a borderline top 5 running back rest of the season.
Give me 30 seconds on Michael Thomas when he does come back. How concerned are you with Taysom Hill Anderson?
Just like the entire season, his value just seems to diminish a little bit more every week that we wait. Now we don't know when he's going to be 100%, and he's going to be catching passes from Taysom Hill, borderline number 2 running back or wide receiver when he gets back.
All right, so we hope to get Michael Thomas back on the field. We hope that Alvin Kamara is not impacted. But again, the news out of New Orleans is Jameis Winston out for the season with a torn ACL.